Hey Buckeyes, hey Tomcats. Hope the test wasn't too bad for you. Before we get started on this video, which is Unit 5, Lesson 8, Part B, we're plotting points and classifying polygons, I want to make sure that you got enough time to go over the do now. So if you did, and you got through numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4, you can go ahead and proceed in the video. Number 1, I'm wondering where the two axes cross at the center of the grid. Now, when you see these two numbers, 0, 0, that should key in something in your brain, and you should know that that something is called the origin. Now, number 2, we're going to be drawing the ordered pairs here, A, B, C, and D, and we're going to label each point. Now, remember, before you plot, you should know that you run before you jump. So if I wanted to plot point A, I would run 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and jump 3, 1, 2, 3. Make my point, and then label it with the letter A. Now point B, I'm going to run 3 and then jump 3. So I'm going to run 1, 2, 3, and jump 1, 2, 3. Make my point, and label it with the letter B. Now for letter C, I have 3, 6, which means I'm going to run 3 and then jump 6. So I'm going to run 1, 2, 3 and jump 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Make my point and label it with the letter C. Now my final point is point D. I'm going to run 5 and jump 6. So I'm going to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and jump up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now if at any point during this video you think I'm going too fast, feel free to pause it, rewind it so you can rehear what I just said. Number 3. If A, B, C, and D are the vertices of a quadrilateral, remember quadrilateral, quad meaning 4, which quadrilateral is it? There are two possible answers. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to connect the dots here, just so I can get a better idea of what shape I'm looking at. Now, when you connect the dots, you should see something jump out at you pretty quick. And I see that it is a rectangle. So A, B, C, and D is a rectangle. Now there's one other thing, one other shape that A, B, C, and D could be. And that is a parallelogram. Now I know it's a parallelogram because there are two sets of parallel sides. Now those sides are also equal in length, so I know it's a parallelogram. So number 4 is asking me, how did I know what kind of quadrilateral A, B, C, and D was? Well, I knew it was a rectangle and a parallelogram because it has two pairs of parallel sides, and that should have keyed you in, if you were looking at your yellow sheet, that it was a parallelogram or a rectangle. Now go ahead and give yourself 1 minute, flip the page, and see if you can do the skill builder. Go ahead. You tracking me? Now, number 1 is asking, circle the point on the number line located at -3/4. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at my number line, and I see that it goes from -1 all the way to 1. I can also see that my number line is broken into quarter, half, 3/4, and 1. So I'm going to circle this point, which is at -3/4. Now, if I wanted to fill in the rest of my number line, I could do it just like this: -1/2, -1/4, 0, and then just the opposite on the other side: 1/4, 1/2, and then 3/4. Now, number 2 is asking what number is represented by point K. So I'm going to look on my number line and find point K. I'm going to find my 0 and find my other label, which is 5. Now I'm going to count my hash marks: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I see that this is counting up by ones. Now if I went the other way, it would be -1, -2, -3, and -4. Now I see that point K is right at 3. 3. Now my number 3 is asking plot point J on the opposite of point K. So that means I need to find point K, which is at 3. The opposite of 3 would be -3. So I'm going to make my point here and draw in my J. Now remember, if you need to slow down, go back, go ahead, rewind the video, or pause it. That's just fine. Go ahead and flip the page. Today's aim, I know this is a little different format today, but today's aim is student will be able to identify and classify polygons by plotting points in the coordinate plane. Now, this is combining what we did last week and then what we started to do yesterday and Monday. Our guided notes. Now, we need to be able to classify our polygons, and we can do that in a number of ways. The first way we're going to do it is by looking at the number of sides. And that's usually a dead giveaway on what kind of category, either triangle or quadrilateral, this would be. And a polygon with 3 sides would be a triangle. Now I also know that if I look at my yellow sheet, the one that we filled out yesterday, I know that something with 4 sides is going to be a quadrilateral. Quadrilateral. And if it is a quadrilateral, one thing I'm going to look really close for is the number of right angles. Right angles, not angels. If it has right angles and equal sides, I know right angles and equal sides, I know that this is going to be a square. But if it has right angles, 4 right angles, but the sides are not equal, I know that that is going to be a rectangle. Again, if you need to slow this down and back up, go ahead and hit the pause button now. Today we're going to be plotting some of these polygons. So, on the next portion here, we're going to be drawing the ordered pairs on the coordinate plane here. And we're going to make sure to label each of those points. So the first point I have is point A. And that is located at 0, 0, where I'm going to label point A. My second point is point B, and that's going to be at 0, 3. So I'm going to run, 0, and jump, 1, 2, 3. And this is where my point B goes. Now my third point is C. It's going to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and jump 0. So I'm going to plot my point here, label it with a C. And my fourth point, point D, is 6, 3 ordered pair. So I'm going to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and jump 1, 2, 3. And that is my point D. Now the next part is asking me what this polygon is. But before I do that, I'm going to connect the dots just so I can see it a little more clearly. And when I fill in with my red marker, I can kind of see that shape come out. I can see that polygon ABCD is a rectangle. But I also know, thinking all the way back to the do now, I also know that this is a parallelogram. Now, if I wasn't sure what that was, I could very easily take out my yellow sheet that we filled in yesterday and look for the definitions of these quadrilaterals. Now, the second one here, E, F, G, and H, is going to plot a different polygon. So just so you can see that difference, I'm going to do it in a different color. So the first one is showing E, and that's at -5 too, which means I run -5 and then jump down -2. So I'm going to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 backwards and then jump 1, 2. And this is going to be my point E. Now my second point is point F. That's at -2, -2. I'm going to run -2 and jump -2. And that's going to be my point F. Now point G is at -5, -5. So I'm going to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and jump down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that is my point G. Now my final point is point H. That's at -2, -5. So I'm going to run backwards 1, 2 and jump down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to label this point H. And now before I name the polygon, I'm going to go ahead and connect the dots. E to F, F to H, H to G, and G back to E. Now, because of how this is printed, it might look a little weird on the screen, but in your packet, it should look a little more familiar. Now, the first thing I notice is that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 right angles. So right away, I know that it's either going to be a rectangle or a square. The next thing I'm going to look at is the length. I can see that this is 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. So if all the sides are the same and there are 4 right angles, I know that polygon EFGH is a square. And how did I know what kind of polygon EFGH was? Well, I looked at my definitions and I saw that a square has 4 right angles and 4 equal sides. And this is what you're going to be doing a lot of today in the packet. Now, sometimes this will give you a fill in the blank where you will have to come up with the coordinate that you think best fits the shape it's asking for. On the next page, our guided practice page, we're going to be drawing the ordered points on the coordinate plane. This one right here. And then we're going to label each point, and it's going to ask us what that polygon is. So the first thing I'm going to do is plot point W. Now why don't you go ahead and plot point W, point X, point Y, and point Z. I'll give you 1 minute to do that. If you need more time, go ahead and pause that just so you know that you are getting your own learning done. Again, if you need more time, go ahead and pause the video now and double check your answers with mine. Point W is at 2, 1. I'm going to run 1, 2 and jump 1. Label it W. Point 4, 1. I'm going to run 1, 2, 3, 4 and jump 1. That's my point X. Now point Y would be at 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my point Y. And point Z is at 3, 4. I'm going to run 3 and jump 1, 2, 3, 4. Label it with a Z. Now at this point, I'm going to connect the dots. Z to Y. Remember, these are making line segments. Y to Z. Now if you want to use the edge of your notebook, the edge of another piece of paper, maybe an extra pencil to make those lines straight, that's just fine. Go ahead and do that. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at my yellow sheet on the back with all the definitions and see if I can figure out what this matches. First thing I notice is that ZY, line segment ZY, is the same length as line segment WX. So I know that I have at least one set of sides that is equal in length and parallel. The other thing I notice is that line segment WZ and line segment XY are also the same length. They're also parallel. So right now I have two sets of parallel lines that its opposites are equal in length. So I know that it could be a number of different things, but it's only got two shapes. So I know that the first polygon that it is a parallelogram. I also know that this is a quadrilateral. Remember, a quadrilateral is a shape with four sides. Due to the same thing, for the second question here, JKLM, go ahead and take 1 minute to plot those points on the coordinate plane.